Yeah, yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, thank you so much, Usha, for such a warm welcome.
Ma'am, it's my pleasure to introduce you.
I am here with you all, and I am extremely obliged so that you all, with all being all here and invited here. Since the topic of your conference was a very large and it is very enhanced and it is in a way very specified to cover most of the to cover most of the branches of forensic science. I try to use the uh, your topic and simplify it for the audiences. So the topic on which I will be discussing will be the significant errors of science and technology relevant to police work and the prevention, detection, and investigation of crime. See, when the word forensic science comes to mind, the first thought that people have is that the forensic means something related to the poisons, or it is related to somebody who has been shot, or it is related to the signature. Whereas the truth sense, whereas in the truth sense, the field of forensic science is extremely vast, and it covers. I request the participants to kindly mute themselves because there is a lot of background noise which is coming. Thank you so much. See, when you are talking about forensic science, you tend to think that forensic talks about poisons, it talks about the gunshots, it talks about death. But in reality, forensic is not limited to all these areas. Forensic helps not only in investigation of a particular crime that has happened, it also helps in the prevention. It helps in its detection. Sometimes there is a case where you are not sure, even the person is not sure, the complainant is not sure that the crime that has happened with him or her is a crime or not. The person the person tries to identify. Also, there is a trend in crime industry which happens. Like for example, if you go around checking the data of the crime that has been happening during the lockdown period, we will see that there is a steep decline in the crimes that were happening on street, or you can say in person. The crimes that were happening on the online, that is the cyber crimes, the network crimes, computer crimes, such crimes have shown a very high rise. The amount of the number of crimes that has happened has increased tremendously. So how we can prevent such incidences to happen? This is also a job of a forensic scientist. So I will be starting off. I hope all of you know that before we start off with the word forensic science, let us just brief about what is exactly science is. See, science comes from the Latin word scientia, meaning knowledge. It means that we have systematically, if you organize and if you build up a knowledge from experiments, from results, from hypothesis, and then you predict a theory. If there is a concept that involves all these four steps, then that particular technique, that particular method is characterized as science. Technology means that it is basically how you are using the knowledge of science in a practical manner. How you can make the knowledge that you have gained from experimentation and scientific methods to implement them for human use, for practical use. How you will be able to make tools, machines, and and say craftsmanship, how you can do that. That part is termed as technology. So forensic science is basically using not just the scientific knowledge, but it is also using the technology that has been developed from scientific knowledge to check for the crimes that has been happening. Check in the way that to investigate them, to prevent them, and to make sure that the culprit has been brought to justice. Ideally, police work has been considered as to check for what is happening. Police work nowadays has been everything. It is literally everything. For whatever purpose you need to discipline people, you need police. But when it comes to the crime detection part, we divide police work into two halves. One is the investigation of crime, another is called as the evidence analysis. See, there is a concept, I guess I will be able to write. Yes. I hope you can see what I'm writing. When we are in the court of law, we have to prove these two things for a crime to be proven in the court: actus rea and mens rea. Actus rea means action and mens rea means motive. If you are unable to prove either of these with a particular case, a criminal case, you cannot, or the judge cannot decide on the proper punishment. It may happen that the suspect may be released from the custody also. So this part has to be checked. When we talk about mens rea, that is the motive. Motive is obtained by doing the background investigation, checking the background story, how something happened and why it happened. There is the important role of the police that comes into being. But when it comes to actus rea, that is to establish the action that has happened, we have to see that there is no constant proof available of something being happening. There is no actual recordings. Sometimes you have CCTV recordings, sometimes you don't have them. So in that case, how you will prove that the person you are talking about or the person you have suspected to be the part of a crime is the actual criminal, is the actual culprit? For that, you have to go ahead and talk about the evidence analysis, the physical evidences and the other corroborative evidences that you can collect from the scene of crime and perform their analysis to prove that a particular crime has happened. When we talk about investigation of a crime, as I said, is being divided into majorly two parts. First, again, I'm repeating myself, to determine the motive, and second, to determine the action. To determine the motive, you need a criminological or a psychological analysis also. But in case of when it comes to determining the action, the proving of action, the concept of forensic science comes into being. When we talk about forensic science, we are talking about all sort of visible and invisible physical evidences that can be available at a scene of a crime. When you have this evidences, the job of a forensic scientist is to complete the triangle, complete the crime triangle, to completely prove that the evidence that you have found at the scene of crime is linking the offender to the scene of crime, it links the victim to the scene of crime, and it also links the offender to the victim. If any of these links are not available, this triangle is not completed. And once the triangle is not completed, the point of proving a crime being happening is not fulfilled. Any physical evidence or any other evidence that we are finding at the scene of crime, our job as a forensic scientist is to make sure that the evidence is being able to linked to all the three components of the crime, so that the action that led to the crime can be proved. When it comes to the evidence, when it comes to evidence analysis and presentation in the court of law, as your organizers also pinpointed, the motive of the conference is to ultimately lead to the fact that how the evidences are presented in the court of law. Analysis part, since most of you are from the forensic background, you all are aware that how the analysis part is being done. There is a lot of tests available for you. There is a lot of microscopic, there are a lot of instrumental tests available for you to actually go in depth and do in-depth analysis, and at the microscopic level, at the nano level, you can perform the test. But if the tests that you have done are not efficiently and properly presented in the court of law, your entire labor of doing the analysis goes into waste. Basically, if we go about from the grassroots level, the science kits that are available, how we are using the knowledge of basic sciences in the investigation part is what we have done at the forensic level. We have made different kits. Small kits has been developed by the industry so that we can identify a particular evidence easily. For example, for the protection of crime scene, you have crime scene protection kit. For collection, you have collection and packaging kit. For the light sources, you have light source kit. For blood, you have blood testing kit. For narcotics, you have narcotic testing kit. And similarly, so on and so forth. So for every particular evidence, a particular investigative aid, a particular forensic technique is available to us in the form of a kit. That kit basically contains the miniature form of all the spot tests that you have been doing in the lab. The main question that arises is that when you are able to prove how a crime is being happening, then why do we need so much of scientific, so much of money to be wasted, so much of time to be wasted in investigating a scene? If you go around and explore the judgments that have been made, and if you check with the prisoners who are in jail right now, you will find that there is more than 60 to 65% of the prisoners who have been falsely accused. Sometimes due to lack of proper prosecution, sometimes due to lack of proper defense, and sometimes because of some other reason that they were not the culprits, but because they didn't get the proper defense, they are in the jail. And if you check the judgments of the cases in which acquittal has been made, means that the suspect has been released from the custody, you will come across that in a major chunk of that percentage, the cases that has been reached acquittal, the major chunk is resulting into false release or false acquittal. Actually, the person who has been released is the one who is responsible for the crime. But due to lack of evidences, due to lack of proper presentation of the evidences that has been done in the court of law, the individual was released. And to avoid such cases, to avoid both the sides, to make sure that there is no false acquittal, nor there is false judgment given to the prisoner, we have to make sure that the modern techniques of science and technology that are available to us can be used for this purpose. And this is why we call it that the forensic work is very important nowadays, because crime has been evolving every day. Criminals are getting smart every day. So you have to decide on the fact that the scientific techniques are important, and they help us not only in bringing the justice to the victim, but also to make sure that there is no false cases being registered. Sometimes there are instances where the false cases are being reported to the police. There are cases where, say, a person has been murdered, but the crime scene is staged in a way that it looks like the person has committed suicide. By just looking at the scene of crime, a layman might say that the person has committed suicide, but a person with a forensic background will look into the evidences that are available, check for the scientific reasons of the death, check for the other forensic medicine evidences, and then give a conclusive proof whether that the case is of a suicide or a staged suicide. See, forensic science has got a numerous application. It is not just as I said earlier in the start of my lecture also, it is not limited to one or two crimes only. You think of a crime, and I can tell you where forensic can come into the action. You think of any crime. You think of some crime against, say, a crime is happening against a building. Say some property has been destroyed. Or you think of some drug trafficking. You think of cyberbullying. You think of fake media accounts. You think of your banking frauds. You consider drowning cases. You consider pornography. You consider kidnapping. You consider fake audio messages. You consider fake threats. Anything that comes into your mind will tell you, or there will be a part of it in which you can use forensic science to prove that how it has happened, to help in the investigation. Any crime you think of, forensic will have a role to play. Excuse me. See, sometimes we think that how you can bring a lab into at the scene of crime, because majority of time what happens that when the evidence is collected at the scene of crime and when it is being sent to the lab, the evidence has damaged, the evidence has undergone decomposition, and it becomes impossible for a forensic scientist to give a conclusive result out of it, because the prime evidence, the primary evidence that it was holding the value, it has undergone decomposition. So there are certain on the spot test kits which has been developed using the small technology that we have. For example, this is a very simple blood test on this spot test for blood that has been developed. It's a blood testing kit. It contains in it small bottles that has got reagents and a pack of filter paper, Wortmann filter paper. You have either you can take the scrapings of the stain, or you can take the swab of that stain and you add a drop of reagent 1 and a drop of reagent 2. The change in the color will tell you whether it is blood or not. Then there is another kit that has been developed. As you can see, The kit contains small bottles of the reagents that has been labeled as A1 and A2, Y1 and Y2, and C1 and C2. And then there is a small chart also available inside the kit only. At the scene of crime, or say you have caught a suspect at airport or some other public transport depot, and you want to test whether the person is carrying a suspicious narcotic material or not, you can take a pinch of that substance, put in there is a small tile which is also available, the testing tile which is available in the kit itself. You add the one drop of each of the reagent, either A, Y or Z, and you check the change in color according to the chart. The change in color will tell you that which narcotic material is being present in the sample that you are testing. So it actually limits, it actually reduces the testing time. It reduces the time in which the police has to wait for the results to come from the lab. And this is all technology. We have been using technology to shorten the tests, to limit the test. Now, there is a new trend in the home construction that is happening nowadays. Earlier, it was that the cemented floors were used, much before that, because there were kacha ghars available, so the mud floor was there. But nowadays, the trend is of using tiles and marbles on the flooring. So the point of getting footprint evidence as an impression is in the woods. It has become rare. If somebody is committing a crime in a house whose flooring is done using tiles, you will not find footprints. You will not find 3D impressions of somebody walking. But still, somebody has walked on that floor. We can use the dust lifting kit, the electrolytic dust lifting kit that I have shown you here. It comes in a box. You use that box, you open the box, you put on the aluminium foil, you spray the electric charge on it, and then you can see that if there is a footprint present, it will be made available to you, and this happens within minutes. You need not have to wait for hours and hours for this. It's just some time of a minute. Sometimes, as you can see that this is a wooden floor. At the wooden floor, you can see that there is a faint footprint available. There are certain light sources again which are available in the footprint kit, which will make those faint footprint visible with just using a light source. You have different wavelengths of lights available in that, and different angles on which you can use the incident light, and you can make them visible. Currency examination, I hope that majority of you must have done it in your practical classes also, and all of you must be aware of all the three security features that have been depicted here: the latent image, the watermarks. The currency examination is becoming an important part of forensic science now. It is because if you want to the warfare techniques that has been happening at the international level, the warfare techniques have changed. Earlier, people used to fight using horses and elephants, and then it turned into swords. Then it moved on and it turned into the gun. Then it turned into artillery. tanks. But now, rather than spending the money and wasting the blood of the citizens of one's own country, a country who wants to develop a war or who wants to fight a war can easily destroy its enemy country's economy by using fake currency. You introduce fake currency and the economy of the country will fall. And because of this reason, because of the economic warfare that is being happening, the examination of currency has to be made handy, it has to be made quick, it has to be made efficient. And you can use different security features. You can use the ultraviolet light security features to identify the currencies. Using indented light, using oblique lights to identify indented writing, it's one of the oldest ways to identify the indentations that has been developed. But nowadays, we are using ESDA, electrostatic detection apparatus. In case of oblique light, the disadvantage was that it has to be either the paper immediately beneath the one on which you were writing, or say a second or a third page. If it would have been below that, it was difficult to reveal the writing. But with the help of ESDA, the electrostatic detection apparatus, and using the concept of electricity and science, electricity, we are able to develop this technique and use it for the purpose of investigation. Invisible writings. Sometimes these invisible writings are being mixed with the secret writings. See, secret writings are those which can be in the form of a code also. If somebody is using a code to pass on some message, that can also be a part of secret writing. But when we are talking about invisible writings, we are basically talking about a normal looking page on which nothing is written or something is printed on. And there will be an ink which will be used to write the actual message beneath it or in between it, like you can see in the photograph. The actual message is something else. The actual message is talking about something else, whereas the normal, it is just a letter normally, if you will see. But you visualize it under UV light, you will be able to see what is the actual message. This is basically the concept of using chromophore under examination. You use any chemical which has chromophoric property, it will be invisible to the naked eye, but it will be visible under UV light. People are using it to commit crime, and the same reverse of it can be used for its investigation and detection. Same applies to the biological fluids also. Sometimes in case of certain criminal acts, you find certain biological fluids on the scene which are invisible to the naked eye. These biological fluids are basically colorless. For example, saliva, sweat, semen. But when observed under UV light, ultraviolet light, or the black light, in common man terms, these biological fluids show fluorescence of different range in UV light. So you can use it as a detection tool also. Same can be done for developing the fingerprints also. So you can see that a small radiation, a small concept of radiation, and you can see its application varying from the biological, chemical to the physical evidences such as your handwriting and fingerprints. So it doesn't mean that if a technique has been designed, or if it is being told that you can use this one technique in one area, you cannot use it anywhere else or with any other branch. You can. It has a lot of applications. This I'm going to be skipping because this is something very basic. See, what is basically the skeletal remains, or which part of science deals with the skeletal remains identification? We call it as osteometry or osteoscopy. It is the branch of anthropology. It is being dealt earlier by the anthropology experts to check or to determine whether the remains that has been found belongs to Homo sapiens or its ancestors, and even if it is its ancestors, then which of them, how to establish the evolutionary tree and studying of fossils. This concept has been used from ages. In forensic, we have modified it and we have started using it for the skeletal remains of humans that are being found at the scene of crimes. Same, they may be buried underneath the ground, they may be found in the water, they may be found, say, in a pond, they may be found in a car or in a pile of garbage also. But you are, as a forensic scientist, you are using the concept of anthropology and including it into the science of criminal investigation. As you can see that this is a skeletal remain of a British lady. The case was that a couple was living in the house. It was in Britain, and one day suddenly the female of the house went missing. She was earlier, the husband told the neighbors that she has went to visit her mother, but after some time, when her mother visited, the neighbors got suspicious, and then he said that she told me that she is visiting her mother, but she never made it to her house, and then she's missing. He reported the case of a missing wife to the police. The investigation was going around, and nobody was able to find her. Later on, one of the British police officers, he observed that the floor of the house, the floor of one of the rooms in the house has been recently reconstructed. It has been recently made. He asked the owner, he asked the husband, and the husband said that, yeah, there was some damage and we tried to repair it. But the police officer was suspicious. He ordered excavation. He ordered the junior officers to dig into it. And when it was dug in, this skeletal remain was found buried inside the house. And then this entire skeletal remain, as you can see that there are certain muscle parts are also valuable, and her hairs are available, and so this entire skeletal remain is, the first part that was good was the entire body was intact. You can clearly see all the limbs, you can see the proper hands, you can see the face. So it actually reduced the work of forensic experts. Her bone marrow was extracted for DNA examination. The skull was used to make facial reconstruction, and her pelvis was used to determine whether she was pregnant or not. And the entire examination happened. The skull showed a blunt force trauma. A depression on the skull was there. So the cause of death was declared as blunt force trauma. And the husband was then convicted of murdering his own wife. All these evidences, even the cause of death, was from this skeletal remain. Nothing else was available. Is a part of, you can say, crime that is one of the most heinous crimes that are being happening nowadays. One blast happens and hundreds of people die in it. So how do we conduct the blast analysis? This is hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm so
I'm
sorry.
audible.
There was a small internet glitch that had happened. So I'm getting back to the blast analysis part now. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so just give me a minute. Okay. See, this was a blast case that had happened in the state of Andhra Pradesh. The crime that took place was ki the ambassador carrying a government official was going passing a Naxalite area, and there was a blast that had happened. The question that arose was that whether the explosive was inside the car or beneath the car or was thrown from outside. So if by looking at the damage that you can see, the a person can say that the explosive was inside the car. So if the explosive was inside the car, the point of Naxalite attack will be out of question. Okay, it could be some conspiracy or some say some other reason because of which the crime has happened. But when you see that key, how the damage has happened, the area where the damage has happened, if you will see that, you will be able to see that the driver's seat is completely intact. You can see in the photograph that the steering wheel is properly up there, the seat is intact, but the entire damage that has happened is on the other side, that is on the passenger side of the car. So by looking at a photograph like this, by visiting a scene of crime, as a forensic expert, you should be able to answer the questions like where was the explosive kept? What was the explosive material used? How the explosion could have happened? Where or who was the target? This entire answer was to be given by just looking at this photograph or by examining this car. The reason that the conclusion was drawn from looking at from the scene of crime was that the explosive was beneath the car, not inside the car. See, if the explosive would have been inside the car, the damage to the car would have been more from the inside. As you can see, the majority chunk of the car from the driver's side, you can see in the zoomed image here that it is intact. This photograph tells us that the explosive material was kept not inside the car. The damage that has happened to the car, the bonnet that has been removed, the glasses, it happened because of the shock waves. And because the roof is also intact, one can clearly say that the seat of the explosion, that is the explosive material, was not inside the car, but it was beneath the car, and due to that reason, the entire roof is still intact. All this is being done by your studying the scene of crime. But if you have to recreate this, if you have to prove it using the animation, using the 3D animation, using the modeling that is available to us, we can easily nowadays, using the technology, recreate the scene of crime and see how the explosion could have happened. If the time will permit, I will show you a crash image of a plane, an animation that will clarify what I'm saying right now. Same thing is with the ballistic analysis also. Ballistic analysis, when you are doing, you have a idea, or if you are aware of the physics, if you are aware of motion science, if you are aware of laws of motion, you are aware of velocity, you will be able to determine the origin of those bullets. You will be able to tell that from where the bullet was shot. You will be able to identify which bullet has been shot. These are certain pistols and revolver, because sometimes students are very fascinated to see these. So I've just put in the pictures. See, this is basically a gunshot wound. Okay. We have to understand that how a gunshot injury happens. Explaining a gunshot injury by looking at it, one can assume that the bigger hole is the entry hole and the smaller hole is the exit hole. But if you look at the working of a projectile, if you will look at the working how a bullet works, this entire concept is reversed. It is the exit hole which is bigger and the entry hole which is smaller. And the reason for this is that when a projectile which is moving with a very high velocity, it will push whatever is coming in front of it against it, meaning at the opposite side. It will push everything inside. So when a bullet or a projectile enters your body at a very high speed, it basically pushes your entire body, your muscle mass, everything inside the body, making the entry hole smaller. But since it is moving inside your body also, that constant push that it is giving to your blood, your muscles, your skin, that push is increasing the surface area of your body, making your exit wound enlarged and bigger. These are other see, this is what I'm talking about, the technologies. This is something that I guess majority of you might have actually seen. It's a comparison microscope. It is very easy to operate, and this is the miniature model that is available to us right now. Earlier, when the comparison microscopes were initially developed, they were of the size of king size bed, very big. and they were hard to operate. Two people used to operate and one person used to observe. It was a 3 people job. Now it is just a job of one person in one hand. Even you have got automated comparison microscopes are now available, and this is actually easing the work of forensic scientists only. Comparison microscopic images, I guess. Okay, I am running short of time, I guess, now, because I was permitted 1 hour of time and I've already used 50 minutes of it. I have already used 50 minutes. So, see, these scientific techniques that are available are very old. They are not recent. You are studying it from, even I have studied it. 10 years way back, I studied them, and they are available even before that. Okay, polygraphic methods, voice stress analysis, narco, brain mapping, but their applications have changed now. Earlier, we used to use them for checking whether a person is being deceptive or the person is telling the truth. Now we can use these techniques to not only just check whether a person is deceptive or whether a person is telling the truth. We can use the methods of voice stress analysis for making sure that say for example, nowadays you people are giving online examinations. Okay, you are giving online viva. You can say that your camera is not working, your webcam is not working, and your teacher has to ask you questions just by listening to your voice, okay, using audio mode only. And when she asks a question, you can easily turn on your Google and look for the answer and answer the question. Easy cheating mode. Okay, but if she applies the voice stress analysis method on your recording of your answer, she will be able to determine whether you were being concealed or you were being cheating, or you have been giving the answers from your memory. Okay, whether
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes.
Ma'am, actually, we have enough time, so please you proceed with your presentation and explain all these methods, scientific techniques in lie detection.
Okay. And one can easily use this voice stress analysis. Now, cheating, if you say cheating in examination is not a big crime, but yes, it is a crime, and we can use our techniques that are available to us for your criminal investigation to a simple classroom examination. I am sure that some of your colleges or universities would have introduced a facial recognition technique for you to log into the examination portals. Now, how does those techniques working? They are basically using our facial reconstruction methods. We are using them for facial reconstruction from skeletal remains. Now, it has been applied, it has been started using in a very entirely different way. Even facial recognition techniques are being used for securing the data. You are securing your cell phones using your fingerprint. You are securing your laptops by your voice. So it is not key the technology that is being made available to you for the analysis part cannot be used in another way. It can be, and that is why I said for prevention of crime also. We are using biometrics, we are using facial recognition, we are using voice, we are using fingerprints for protecting the data from the criminals. Okay. See, this is basically a very old polygraphic machine. Okay, but this is the photograph which I always use. Reason being if I will show you the modern polygraphic method or a modern polygraphic machine, what you will see is some small sensors being attached to your body. But what they are basically recording, you will not be able to check. Here, you can easily see that there is a blood pressure machine attached. Okay, medically it is called a sigmograph. It is attached to the arm. It records the blood pressure. You can see that there is a strap around the chest available. This is basically recording the breathing. You can see some sensors which are available on the finger. They are actually recording the skin response, the rate of perspiration, your sweating. So in lie detection, what you are analyzing is basically the body response to a stimulus. For example, if you go by a normal day-to-day routine, okay, and your mother asks something and you are guilty of doing it, how will you react? You stumble, you you stutter, okay, or you lower your eyes, you start shaking your leg. So this all is your bodily response that are being generated automatically, unconsciously from your body for you being deceptive of a act or trying to hide a act. In case of expert criminals, they are able to hide their body reactions. Your morphological reactions, they are able to hide. But the neurological and other biochemical reactions that are happening inside the body, the release of sweat, increasing of blood pressure, increasing of heart rate, that responses are hard to control. And lie detection works on controlling or using these responses only. And this is a voice stress analysis. We have already talked about this. Okay. Then there comes narco analysis. Narco analysis is basically doing is what it is basically doing is it is inducing a state of semi sleep, or you can say it is making your part of your brain that thinks, your pituitary gland, okay, that helps you in manipulating things, that help you in trying to be a quick or clever thinker, okay, it inhibits the responses of that gland. And in return, what it is doing is because the imagination part, the manipulative part of your brain has been inhibited to work on the other half of your brain, which is truthful, which is unable to hide, is active now. And when you ask about, when a third person asks you a question related to a particular crime, and because you are unable to manipulate your answer, the truth comes out of your mouth, and you are not able to be a person who is lying. So but the only problem with this test is that since we are actually introducing a chemical, a different a chemical reagent, that is a drug which is not normally available in your body, and you are introducing it from outside, and it is narcotic in nature, it is addictive, it can be lethal also if administered in improper dose, then this, or it may happen that the person to whom you are giving the drug may or may not be allergic to it. So it may result into some catastrophic event also. So we have to be very careful while performing this test. We have to make sure that this test is done under the supervision of a medical professional, so that any other alternate reaction that may arise, or some medical condition that may arise because of the administration, it can be worked on. The another test is what we are calling is as brain fingerprinting. These are all psychological tests basically. In brain fingerprinting, basically what we are doing is we are not even talking to you. We are not talking to you. We are not asking you any questions. We are just measuring the brain response. This technique is basically used by the neurosurgeons, okay, or the neurologists to check for the tumors that are present in the brain. Because when there is a tumor present in the brain, that tumor will result into the extra neurotransmission from that particular part of the brain. In case of brain fingerprinting, we are using the same concept. But rather than mapping the tumors, what we are doing is we are showing you the images that are related to the particular crime. Now, if you have a memory of that particular crime, your brain will react to it and we will have a neurological response from your brain. You may not speak about it, you may not talk about it, you just see the image, your brain remembers something, and it is shown in the form of an EEG, an electroencephalograph, and we can see it. We can see your brain waves, we can see your brain trying to initiate hyperactivity, which will result us, which will tell us that you have the memory, you have some recollection of that particular crime. Cyber forensics, see, this is something new, a new crime, and because of the lockdown also and the other social distancing, the criminals are also practicing social distancing. They have shifted their entire MO from committing the crimes in the physical form or the offline mode to the online mode. They are using fake profiles, they are using fake IDs, they are using bulk mailing technique to get the data from your side and then use it against you. It can be a financial crime, it can be a identity theft, or it can be the revealing of your some secret information. In fact, there has been cases reported where there are some spam mails that has been sent to you using the Trojan horse, and the person who has sent you that mail will have the will put in a malware into your computer, can be your phone, can be your laptop, can be your desktop, and because of that Trojan that he or she has introduced using the mail in your computer, that entire desktop working, the entire computer working is now into the control of the of your criminal. You may not be aware of it, but whatever work you are doing on your computer is being recorded by them. You are not aware, but they will be easily be able to hack into your system. They will be easily make your system work. They can turn on your web camera, they can record whatever you are doing, they can record your surroundings, they can record your house, they can record your audio in the background, and you might not be even aware that this is happening with you. You may just live your life normally, you do all your day-to-day work, but the entire activity, the entire working that you are doing is being actually watched by somebody else. This is being done by a lot of stalkers also. You may think that you are talking to your friend, or you may think that you are talking to a person that you have met on social media, but it is basically somebody else who has been talking on their behalf. The person has created a fake profile, the person is using it. There are a lot of fake Instagram accounts that are available in the Instagram platform. Those accounts are basically dummy accounts. They have dummy followers, and when you subscribe or when you start following those accounts hack into your system. the owner of that account can get access to your profile, okay, can get access to direct messaging you, your private information, and can easily check your activity and stalk you on and exploit your information for personal gain. So your virtual gaming, your virtual gaming is in nowadays. Okay, every third person who is using the gaming techniques, these softwares to this online gaming, the person is susceptible for virtual crimes also. You are not able to secure yourself, or you are not using the proper security for your own system because you think that you are just playing a game, but the person with whom you are playing this game is actually getting access of your system. Maybe you are playing a game, you are losing, the person with whom you are playing says, oh, you give me your access and I will help you out. You give him the access or her the access, but rather than helping you out in the game, the person is actually extracting the information from your computer. You lose your own identity. Okay. DNA profiling. DNA profiling is a science that started in India in 1988. Okay. And here, you all must be aware of this institute, CCNT. This is one of the prime institutes of DNA of in India. Okay. This DNA evidence is being used in the court of law from now 30 years, 3 decades. The DNA fingerprinting technique was initially designed by the geneticist to actually look for the mutations, to actually look for the genetic mutations that may cause any disease or that are resulting into any disease in an individual. It was basically a medical diagnostic technique. It was used to find the genetic causes of certain diseases which were being found in families, or the diseases such as epilepsy, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, which are heritable. In that case, there we were using DNA. But then later on, its application was started in the forensic science. We started using DNA earlier in the beginning for identification or for resolving the paternity disputes. But then the DNA found its root in the sexual offenses. Right now also, the majority of cases that are being handled with sexual offenses, majority of time, in fact I would say that 80% of the time, if the DNA evidence is missing, the case lacks something. And DNA evidence has its value in a lot of cases, as I guess you will be able to see. It is used in basically your paternity analysis, it is used in sexual offenses, it is used in the analysis of your blood. Then nowadays actually we have moved on to the analysis of DNA from fingerprints. We call it touch DNA. We are working on the DNA from fingerprints. We are working on DNA from your saliva. We are working from DNA that you have touched the surface and there is your DNA. Now we need to, when we need it, we can use it. We need not ask you to fill in a 5 ml vial of blood, or fill in, like for diagnostic purposes, they normally take your spit, your saliva. Okay, 5 ml of saliva they take, and then from that they extract the DNA for medical purposes. But in case nowadays we don't need 5 ml of your body fluid to get your DNA. We can just ask you to touch a particular surface and from there we can get your DNA. So you can see that getting information from an individual is easy if you are using a proper scientific diagnostic technique. You have plenty of science You have plenty of technology available, but what you have to do is you have to apply it in the field of forensic science. You have to think, you have to think fast, and you have to make sure that the technique that you are using will give you certain result. Okay, if is there an option or is there any question?
Yeah. Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. I have one question.
Yes.
Ma'am, what are the recent cases in which narco analysis can, matlab, like used for investigation?
See, there are a lot of cases where narco has been used. Right now, because certain cases are under investigation, so I will not name them. But you can go for your the recent and the most popular one you can see is the Nithari that actually resulted in some conclusive judgment, and then there was Arushi Talwar, which resulted into an inconclusive judgment. Okay, the test was inconclusive because the statements that were given by the suspects were contradicting with each and every one. Then there are cases. There is this recent case of death of a Caucasian female in Tamil Nadu. Okay, it was a case of rape and assault, and the driver of the Ola cab was Ola or Uber cab was the suspect, and that person was suspected and was prescribed for narco analysis by the order of court. The case is still under investigation. So you can see that there are plenty of cases in where narco has been used, and earlier even the court was not so, you know, flexible about giving the permission to the investigating agencies about the psychological test. But nowadays, with the positive responses that has been coming from the analysis and the assessment of such cases, even the court is allowing these tests to be conducted at a very frequent basis now.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enhancing our knowledge in not only the concerned topic, but also in some ambiguous matter which we are unaware about. Thank you so much, ma'am. So our next speaker is Dr. Khushali Joshi. She is Dr. Khushali Joshi, and she's a representative in IEIF India. She done her master's in forensic science with a specialization in microbiology, amplification, DNA profiling. So I request Dr. Khushali ma'am to give her views on the concerned topic.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Am I audible to
Yes,
everyone?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. And first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are well and all are safe. Um, Thank you, Vinny ma'am, for your kind knowledge. It was very good and very informative. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Forensic India and Shimla University for giving me opportunity to speak over here. So let's start our today's topic. So the topic of our webinar is investigation and different aspects of forensic sciences. So at what point or what way we can do the investigation. So today we are going to talk about the death investigation with the perspective of death investigation. Means if there is a death is found on any crime scene, so how we are going to investigate it. So let's start with it. So forensic investigation, as we all know that forensic is the scientific method of using the solving the crime. And when you want to investigate the crime, it means to you take the use of the technologies or the observations or anything, and by the combination of all your observation, logic, technology, and like that, we can establish forensic investigation. And as we are talking about the death scene investigation, so if a deceased person is at the scene, we call it a death scene. If at any point or any crime scene we are finding a person is dead, so it is called as death scene investigation. So the examination of death scene and the subsequent collection of potential evidence materials will require skills, knowledge, aptitude, and attitude. The manner in which a death scene investigation is conducted may be a critical factor in determining the success of an investigation. So here the most question will come that why a death scene investigation is required, what is the purpose, or what kind of things it will include death scene investigation. So there may be can be an accidental deaths, or the suicide, or the homicide, or the sudden death, which we call as a natural death, or the difficult victim identification, which include mummification or putrefaction. For example, if the body is there since last many days is there, and mummification and the putrefaction has been started. So at that scenario also we need a forensic death investigator. And the last one is the disaster victim identification, where there is multiple casualties there, multiple deaths are there. So we need to establish the identity of the particular individual, which is called as the disaster victim identification. So the forensic medicine expert should always have appropriate equipment ready to take to a crime investigation at a moment's notification. Right. If you want to do a crime scene investigation, or particularly a death scene investigation, then you have to have equipments or the tools which is only which is most important and most required for it. So those things should be perfectly ready uh, at the moment you are getting the notice, if you are a crime scene investigator or a death scene investigator. So all the equipment should be ready, right? So the most forensic medicine experts carry a murder bag. It is called as a murder bag. It may be a suicidal investigation or any kind of investigation, but the equipments which they are taking with them, it's called as a murder bag with them always, which is having all the equipments to be carried out. So what kind of equipments should be needed there? So first of all, the waterproof apron and the rubber gloves. Why it is required? Because we don't know the cause of death or the manner of death, or what are the circumstances are there present in the crime scene. So a waterproof apron and the rubber gloves are always required, whether it is a normal crime scene investigation or a death scene crime investigation. Then writing implements like pen, pencil, markers, etc. for the documentation. Then disposable jumpsuits or hair covers, face shields, etc., which is of course it is required, and nowadays it is very popular, as we are seeing all the doctors, everybody is wearing PPE kit and everything. So we no need to clarify that how it looks like or how what are those things, right? We are very much aware of it right now. Then thermometers, syringe, needle, sterile swabs, this all things are required. So why it is required? Going to talk further that why thermometer is required, why syringes are required. So let's discuss over. So then we need a particular equipments or a set of scalpels or a special kind of tools. Like it is called as an autopsy dissection set, including handsaw. So you are you will tell me that, ma'am, we are talking investigation, and why you are talking about the autopsy tools? We are not going to do autopsy on the crime scene, right? But there may be some situation or certain situations should be there where the body is in placing in such a way that we need to do a little bit of what to say, you want to move the body or if you want to take out the body, we need little bit of equipments. So every time we should take this, we should carry this equipments with us. So it is called the dissection set, autopsy dissection set, including a hand saw, a little bit small saw should be there with you. Then cutting needles and twine for the body closure. Then the swabs and containers for the blood and body fluids. This is very important. Any crime scene or any death scene will require a kind of containers in which you can put the body fluids like blood or semen stains are there, or whatever is there, whatever body fluids are available, you should put it. Then formalin jars for the histopathological samples. Histopathology means if any body cells or any tissue you are seeing under the microscope, studying under the microscope, that is called the histopathology. So it is also important in many cases. For the example, if we talk about the COVID-19, so when COVID-19 autopsies has been done, so the part of their lung tissue has been examined under the microscope, and they are showing the disformity or the what we can say the changes after the COVID-19, and confirms that the patient has been died due to coronavirus. Like that, many cases, many like drowning cases or many other cases are like that, and where histopathological samples are required. So because they are the body tissues, so all the body tissues we should put in the formalin jars. Then plastic bags, envelopes, papers, pen, pencil, then printed body charts for recording the external injuries, etc. Those things are required for it. Then hand lens, electric torch, mini tape recorder, then weather gear like raincoat, umbrella, those things are which is required according to the situation and the environment. Then supplies like spray, sunscreen, hat, etc. These are very common things. Then camera. Then usually 35 mm single lens reflex with electronic flash camera is required for the photography of the body, of the human body. But nowadays, high definition lenses are available. Close-up shot, there's a different lens. Most importantly now, which is very important, is alternative light sources. It must be there, so it can help in the very good photography. Then comes the documentation of the crime scene. We know that first when we arrive at the crime scene, then we document it, we can see it, verify it, then comes the documentation. So documentation starts with the photography. The photographic documentation of the scene creates a permanent historical record for the scene. Right. Always people are asking that why photographs are required, or why the sketching is required, why the videograph is required. It is required for the permanent record of the scene. The photographs provide detailed corroborative evidence that construct a system of redundancy should questions arise connecting the report, witnesses' statements, or the position or the evidence at the crime scene. What is the position of the body? What is the position of the evidences, etc. Whatever the questions will be there, the perfect and the authentic answers you can get from the photography and the videography or the documentation of the crime scene. The investigator shall obtain detailed photographic documentation of the crime scene that provides both instant and high quality. For example, 35 mm of images, right? If evidence has been moved prior to the photography, it should be noted in the report, right? If something is there or some circumstances are there that before photography you need to move some kind of the body, or you want to move a few evidences, which is you should not do, but if it is mandatory to do, you should make a clear note in your documentation that this object or this things we moved to this much, or we have moved from the body, etc. And after that, The body or the other evidence should not be reintroduced into the scene in the order to take the photographs. Once you have taken, and then again, you should not reintroduce it, right? For example, if a gun is there, you have taken it before photography, then you remember, okay, oh, I forgot to take photographs. Let me put it back. So that is not the scene. You cannot do it. Then comes the conduct the external body examination. External body examination means a superficial examination. Here, you are not doing anything internally. You are not doing any autopsy, or you are not doing introducing or removing anything from the body. You are just observing, like superficial observation or the examination you are doing. So conducting the external body examination provides the investigator with the objective data regarding the evidence at the scene of the body. This documentation provides detailed information regarding the decedent's physical attributes, his/her relationship to the crime scene, and the possible cause, manner, and the circumstances of the death. For the external examination or the superficial examination, you might get your idea about the manner of death or the cause of death. It is not mandatory that whatever you are observing from the crime, it is only the reason. For example, if a person is having a stab injury in his chest and you are thinking that the death is just because of the stabbing, maybe it's not possible, right? The actual cause of death we will get only after the autopsy, but the external examination we can get some idea, so that the investigator can have a lead to further investigate. Then comes the body photography. The initial documentation of crime scene, what we talk about, that was the photography of the whole crime scene, right? So for example, a body is there inside a room. So whatever things are available in the room, or whatever evidences are there, or the position of the body is there, everything we should photograph. Then comes the body photography. After arrival at the crime scene and prior to moving the decedent, the investigation should, without moving the decedent's clothing, whatever the position the clothes are there, you should not move it, or you should not try to do anything else. First of all, you should take the photograph of the scene, including the decedent and initially the surface beneath the body after the body has been removed. First of all, take the photograph of the body, then remove the body, and then again take the photograph of the surface where the body was lying, either on the floor or on the bed, or any whatever the circumstances were there. The photograph of the decedent with or without measurements, including a photograph of decedent's face. So document the decedent's physical characteristics and the presence or absence of clothing and personal things. So physical characteristic means if he is wearing some ornaments or watch or anything, or if he or she is having any tattoo or any scars or any birthmarks or whatever is there. So a close photograph should be taken. Then document the presence or absence of any item or the objects. For by that we can check out about the looting or the bulgari or something. Then the presence or absence of any marks, the scars or the tattoo, or injury or the trauma or the particular injuries or something, and treatment or resuscitative efforts, like any drugs are there, of any prescriptions we are getting, or we are getting any marks of injections or something on his or her body, like. And then based on the finding, determining the need for the further evaluation, assistance of forensic specialist should be called, for example, the pathologist or the odontologist or something. Right? Then comes the preservation, the evidences on the body. Whatever evidences is present on the body, then it should be preserved. All of the physical evidences visible on the body, like for example, blood or other body fluids, that must be photographed and documented prior to the collection and transport. If blood stains are available on the body. So before collecting the blood stain, you should make a proper photography of it. Fragile evidences which can be easily contaminated, lost, or altered must be also collected and preserved and maintain the chain of custody to assist in the determination of the cause and the further related to the circumstances of the death. So, the establishment or the confirmation of the decedent's identity is paramount to the death investigation. Proper identification allows notification of the next of kin, resolution of criminal and civil litigation, and the proper completion of the death certificate. So the direct visual or photographic identification of the decedent is recognizable. Then scientific method such as fingerprints, dental, or DNA comparisons, these things are also for the identification of a decedent. Then circumstantial methods such as person effects or the circumstances, physical characteristic, tattoos or anthropologic data may be sometimes helpful. There are some cases like there is a tattoo on the body or a tattoo on an arm. By that, a police or investigator got a lead to identify the body. By seeing the race, sometimes it is very much common that if any foreigner body we found in any kind part of the globe. So if by the seeing the race or the physical structure or the anthropological data, we can identify it. Then comes the documentation of the post-mortem changes. So first of all, what is post-mortem? Post-mortem means after death. So after death, whatever things are coming to play, that is called as a post-mortem. So here, the whatever changes come to the body after the death, it is called as a post-mortem changes. So why it is required post-mortem changes? Why we should go for the post-mortem changes? To establish the post-mortem interval or the time since death. So whatever time has been passed, so by the examination of post-mortem changes, we can get the idea of it. So the documenting the post-mortem changes to the body assist the investigator in explaining the body appearance in the interval following the death. Inconsistency between post-mortem changes and body location may indicate movement of the body. Right. So, for example, murder has been done in a primary crime scene, and then the body has been taken to the other part or the other area, which is called as the secondary crime scene. So by seeing the body, if it has been established that the death has occurred before the 12 hours. So, and if you are not finding exact data or the common data which we are always getting, in the after 12-hour death, so we can have a idea that the body maybe has been moved, or before the police has come or before the investigator has come, there should be some interaction in between dead body and somebody else, so we can identify or we can have some idea how that we are seeing in the next slide. Changes to the body and correlate with the circumstantial information can assist the investigator in the estimating the approximate time of the death. Right? It is having a circumstantial information. For example, if it's a hot summer in India, and if you see the putrefaction changes, so you can have an idea that the body or the death has been taken from this to this days. But if we see about European countries or Himalayan range, which is where the temperature is very low, so there the putrefaction or the mummification changes are very slow. So by this kind of circumstances, we can have an idea about time since death. So the investigator shall document all post-mortem changes related to the decedent and the environment. So if it's raining, So it's a high chance that we are not getting the actual data, or which is established data which we are expecting. It is not possible, right? So upon arrival at the crime scene and prior to interview, the investigator should note the presence of each of the following or report. The first of all will be a Libra Mortis or the hypostasis. Liver or the color, location, trident spots inconsistent with the position of the body. So what is liver mortis? It is discoloration of the body due to accumulation of the blood due to gravity. We know that the blood is always moving in our body, but when the death has occurred, so blood stops. It won't move further, right? So because of the gravitational forces, it will started accumulating the downside of the area, like back or the butt area, or like that, or whatever the position of the body where the gravitational force is high, those parts will change the color. It is called as a liver mortis. So for example, if body has been moved, the liver mortis will be changed. So if we are going on any crime scene where we are not getting the hypostasis or the liver mortis which should be there, so we can have an idea that before coming here or before seeing the body, there should be some movement of the body, or somebody has moved it, like that we can have the idea. Then comes the rigor mortis. So this is very common in many movies or crime series. This is the first thing they are showing, and they are showing that they are so brilliant by just seeing the rigor mortis. They are telling that 6 hours has been passed or 12 hours has been passed, but actually if we see, so this is not the scene. If we go to see the actual body, it has several factors which is affecting, like if body is inside the room, outside the room, or in a very open air, or what is the situation of the body, what is the position of the body, like that. So this is the rigor or the stagnant or the intensity, location on the body, or the broken, inconsistent with the same. Right here in the picture, you can see that what kind of or how it looks like the body has get the spasm, or it will get start stiffening of their joints. Then comes the decomposition. So when it comes to the death investigation, the degree of decomposition, it causes putrefaction, adipocare, mummification, skeletonization, whatever the situation there, you should think about it. Here in this is a very good picture. I like it because all the stages are shown in one picture. See here, this is the very normal skin which we all have, or the normal humans have. Then immediately after the death, means the first 2 to 3 hours, or 48 to 73 hours, it will start getting uh, um, blenching, like that. It is puffed up. It will get bigger. Then it will get blast. Then slowly it will goes to the mummification. In our previous webinar, I think in this Forensic India webinar only, I have told about this is the one, this is the topic, that how the body has been decomposed and whatever the entomological evidences we can find out, right? Then comes the insect and the animal activities, right? We are living in a very good environment. So whenever it is there, whatever the position we are there, either we are living or we are dead. So the environment will always affect us. So here you can see how after the 10 or 12 days, the insect will start eating the flesh. And if the body is found near any forest area, or any area where this kind of animals can be easily attack the body, then the mummification will start earlier. Then comes the body temperature. Body temperature will call as Vigor Mortis. So description of the body temperature: warm, cold, frozen, or measurement of the body temperature. Document the method used. Like that, we have to take a measurement. So when the body or any person has died, so after a passing of 1 hour, the 1 degree Celsius body will lose the temperature. Right. For example, the normal human body temperature is 37 degree, what we all know. So if 1.5 or 2 hours has been passed, so and if you take the temperature, then it will show the 36 or 36.5 degrees, something like that. Right. The temperature should be taken from the anal, mostly in normal daily practices where all the police people are taking the temperature, they are taking only anal temperature. That is a very big 50 centimeter long thermometer is there. You can Google it. You can Google. You can see what it look like. So it will insert in the anus from the 5 centimeter and then take the body. Again, when it comes from the CSI shows and movies and everything, they are so intelligent than us that they are touching the body like this and like no, अभी अभी हुआ है murder क्योंकि body बहुत गर्म है, right? So this is not like that. Again, the environmental circumstances will play a role, right? So this is when you comes to the actual crime scene. If you assist any actual crime scene, then you will have a good idea about it, right? Then comes the participate in the scene debriefing. So what is that? The scene debriefing helps investigators from all the participating agencies to establish post-scene responsibilities by sharing data regarding particular scene findings. So what is that? So we all know that in the forensic, there are so many branches are there and so many experts are there. For example, forensic entomologist, which is expert in insects or taking the data from the insect and since investigation or time since death by the insect activities. Odontologist, forensic odontologist, they are forensic dentist by the dental record or by the extraction of the tooth or something they are trying to identify and disaster victim identification, they are having a vast role. Or forensic ballistic experts, forensic fingerprints experts. So whenever it is required for the crime scene, all the experts should be called and asked to the investigation. Right. The first and foremost who is arrived on the crime scene, they are the police people. So when they require that we need an expert's help, so they should call, and that is called as participating in the scene debriefing. The scene debriefing provides each agency the opportunity for the input regarding the special request for assistance, additional information, special examination, and other requests requiring integrancy, communication, and cooperation and education. Right? Then comes the ensure security of the remains. So what is that? The ensuring the security of the body requires the investigator to supervise the labeling, packaging, and removal of the remains. Sometimes it is possible that on the death scene, we are not getting the whole body, we are getting the pieces of the body, right? Or sometimes we are getting just a one or two part of the body. Or in accident cases, we are, or the more casualty, we are getting multiple parts of the body of many people, right? So it is an forensic investigator's responsibility that he or she should ensure that nothing has been remain on the crime scene. For example, body has been cut into pieces, then they are collecting all the body and then they are suddenly after reaching the lab they are no realize that oh we left the hand on the crime scene, oh we left the left finger little finger on the crime scene, or we left one tooth from the crime scene, so that should not be allowed, right? So it is their responsibility to take everything and ensure that everything should be secure and packed properly and maintain the chain of custody to go to the autopsy centers or the labs. Then prior leaving to the scene, the investigator should be ensure that the body is protected from the further trauma contamination, and unauthorized removal of the therapeutic and restrictive equipments. For example, if death has been happened in a hospital or where a patient is having under the medical circumstances. So the investigator should ensure that all the therapeutic or the rescuative equipment should be removed first. Then he should take away the body. Then inventory and secure property, then clothing and personal effects or whatever is there, the body should be removed from all those things, and then the body should be taken. Whatever ornaments or watch or whatever he is wearing, then it should be removed first, packed it in separate bags, maintain chain of custody, and the body should be packed in a body bag. Then identify the property and clothing to be retained as evidences. For example, if a body is wearing some clothing and while removing the body or moving the body or packing in the body, the cloth has been teared. So they should not think that, okay, this cloth has teared, we should throw it. No, you should not do that. You should take that clothes properly, pack it properly in the proper containers or the bags, and then maintain chain of custody of those clothes also. Then place the identification on the body and body bag. Ensure and supervise the placement of the body into bag. Ensure to supervise the removal of the body from the crime scene and secure the transformation. While putting body, moving body or transporting the body, it should be ensured that we are not put any external injuries or some external things from our side. For example, while moving the body, and it should not move somewhere that it will get the injury again, which is called as a post-mortem injury. So prior leaving to the crime scene, the investigator should be the majority of the deaths refer to the medical examiner or the coordinator natural death. Establishing the decedent's medical history, he should focus on the investigation. Before starting the investigation, we should first think about what are the medical histories, if something is there, and it should establish whether it's a homicide or a suicide or a natural death. Right. This is the most important thing for the further investigation. Then documenting the decedent's medical history and symptoms prior to the death determines the need for subsequent examination. The relationship between the disease and the injury and the role to the cause, manner, and circumstances of the death. These kind of things are the things which is giving much idea about or the very good lead about the further investigation. Then document medical history, including medication taken, then alcohol, drug use, the family medical history from the family members or the witnesses should be taken. Whatever the witnesses are there or the family members are there, they should take an history from them, whether the body or the who's decedent is having any habits like drug abuse or alcohol or any medical history or a mental history or whatever it is. Then document the information from the treating physician and or the hospitals if the body or the human who is dead and having any history of taking any medicine or taking any treatment from any physician or the hospital. So those kind of data he should take. Then document the physical characteristic and traits like left, right handedness, missing appendages, tattoos, etc. For example, some people are there that he is not having some fingers, so like missing appendages are there, tattoos are there, or any particular birthmarks are there, scars are there, prior injuries are there, whatever is there, you should take a note on it. Then document decedent's mental history. So why mental history is required? The decedent's mental history, health history can provide insight into the behavior and the state of mind of the individuals. Because if it is a case of a suicidal case, suicide, right? So the mental condition of the decedent will not be good, right? They inside may proclude, will aid in the establishing the cause and the manner and the circumstances of the death. So, whatever the suicidal cases are there, there should be a short or long history of mental disturbances are there. So this will lead us to the further investigation. Then document the dissident's mental health history, including the hospitalization or any medication. Then document the history of suicidal identification, gestures, or any attempts, whether he has previously also tries to attempt any suicidal attempts or something. Then document the mental health professionals like psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor. So if he's taking any treatment from any psychiatrist or psychologist, we should go and interview that psychologist also to know more about his history or whatever social history is there, personal history is there. Then document the family mental health history, because sometimes possible that a family is having a trait of having a mental disturbances there. So that also we should do. Then document the social history. So what is social history? The social history includes the marital and status, family, sexual, educational, employment, and the financial information, because these are the things by which the suicides or the homicide has been having a great traits. Daily routine, then habits, activities, friends, associate of the dissidents help in developing the dissident's profile. This information will aid in the establishing the cause, manner, and the circumstances of the death. By having idea over these points, we can have a great clue or a good idea about the why, the cause of the death, and the manner of the death, and the reason behind the death. Then comes the maintain jurisdiction over the body, means the chain of custody. This is the chain of custody form, which is having all the data, the date, time, received from, to whom, at what time you taken to the another places. Everything has been maintained in this. Maintaining the jurisdiction over the body allows the investigator to protect the chain of custody as the body is transported from the scene of autopsy, specimen collection, or the storage. Then the last will come the perform exit procedure. So for if you then after the procedure has been done, then comes the procedure of exit. So when performing exit procedure, the investigator should identify, inventory, and remove all the evidences collect at the scene. Remove all the personal equipments and material from the scene. Then report and document and the dangerous material or the condition should be removed. Right. For that, what he should do, then he should conduct a scene walkthrough exit, ensure all the evidences has been collected, nothing has been left. The materials are not inadvert behind. Any materials are not there, whether from the crime scene or the evidences or from the body, all the equipments which he has taken with him, that all also not remain there. And that any dangerous material or conditions have reported to the proper entities, right? Then last comes the assist the family. So what is that? Assist the family. So when the investigator is assisting the family, it is important. If it is a normal crime scene, if there is no any death, no any casualty, there is this won't come in the picture. But when there is a death or casualty, there the assist the family is must. It means to inform the family if an autopsy is required. If any autopsy is required for any body or any death, the family is concerned taken. Inform the family of available support services like police or social services or whatever is available there. Then inform the family for appropriate agencies to contact with the quest. For example, medical examiner, then it is our duty, or it is the forensic expert's duty, forensic investigator's duty, to inform the family about the appropriate agency that whom they should contact, like enforcement, then coroner's office, then medical examiners, whatever is there. It is our duty to inform them. Then ensure the family is not left alone with the body. If circumstances are there, for example, if like so many cases we are getting now in this pandemic situation, that COVID patient is body is finding somewhere else, or the families are not informed since like death is happened before a week or 3 days or 2 days, the family is not reported, or the body is just given to the family and they are not having any assistance afterwards, that how to do the cremation of the COVID-19 patient, or what to do, what are the things we should take in the mind. They are nothing, they informing. So this circumstances should not be happen. Then inform the family of approximate body release timetable. Body release timetable means the body has taken for the autopsy. So the approximate timing should be informed to the family. Like after 2 days, we will release the body, or after 12 hours, we will release the body. Why? Because after releasing the body after autopsy, it is a family should do their cremation things, or whatever the religious thing should be there. It should be performed. Ritual should be performed. So for their information, the timetable should be informed to the family. And the last, inform the family of the available reports. So after autopsy, or the toxicological and examination, or the entomological examination, or the whatever reports should be there, so it must to inform to the family that what is the cause of death, why this reports has been done, whatever is there, it should be informed to the family. Then comes the homicide. We will talk about the homicide. In the community, the most serious crime is that of the intentional killing of one person by the another. This is called as the homicide. And it is therefore necessary that each of these events be thoroughly investigated by the team of specialists. So, whether the death is homicide or a suicide or a natural death, that a very good idea, or the half of the idea, we can get by the good and thorough examination, right? So if it is a case of a homicide, what evidences we should look for, or what investigation we should go for, let's check for it. Medicine expert focus mainly on the body, like what is the position of the body, what clothes are on the body, and are they intact, dirty, torn, or rearranged, whatever is there. In any case of sexual assault is there or not, we can have a good idea about the clothing. If there is a blood, is it a splatter or a pooled? Splatter, we will get the idea of stabbing. If it is the stabbing, then it will get a spatter. But if it is a blunt force trauma, it will get a pooled blood. Right. In stabbing also we are getting, but the spatter will give us a very good idea. So just by seeing a spatter or a pool of a body, we can have an idea of what kind of injury maybe it is. What is the temperature of the body? So by that we can have an idea about the time since death. Then what is the ambient temperature? Ambient temperature means the environmental temperature. As we talked previously, the environmental temperature will have a very good impact, or a very big impact on the post-mortem temperature. What injuries are visible? What is the state of rigor mortis? Are there any signs of struggle? Does anyone know the identity or a presumptive identity of this person? Sometimes it is possible that body has been found, but there is no identity has been established. So the witnesses are there, or any clue are there. So thorough um, investigation should be done about the identity of the presumptive identity of the person. Then let's talk about if there is a gunshot injury. So homicide victims need to be examined front and back of the determine the nature and extent of the injuries. In stab also, in stab wound also. Front and back examination should be must for entry and exit wound. For example, once the nature of the injuries is confirmed, like it is gunshot, gun wound or gunshot wound, which is very common. There is no casing found on the crime scene. The police will be able to focus on their efforts on finding a shooter with a revolver. Right. For example, if clear cut is there, if it is a gunshot injury, the police should be focused more on the finding the revolver or means a firearm and the shooter, as opposed to searching for an assailant with another type of weapons, such as an ice pick. Right? If it is another type of weapon, the police should get the idea or they get a clue towards the investigation. Then comes the injury or the sexual assault cases. A beating death will alert the team that struggle may have, and the scalp hair or the fingernail scrapings or clippings are required, additional to a blood standard obtained during an autopsy. If there is a beating death or any extra injuries are there, so the hairs, then fingernail scrapings should be um, taken from the body. Whenever there is a sexual assault or a betray is possibility, the specimens from the sexual battery kit must be obtained from a deceased victim and cleaning the body. So what is the sexual battery kit? It is having alternative light sources and the high resolution photography, which if you put those specimen in particular lenses and particular color of lighting, you will get the different kind of stains. Yeah, this also I have covered, I think, in the previous webinar. Forensic India, we are having the recording of that. You can have the idea about it. If you want to learn more about the alternative light sources and alternative light photography, so you can go through that and check it. Then here is an example or a case study we can see. The murderer killed his 36 years old brother by strangulation and blunt head trauma. The victim was found on the floor in prone position near his bed. The belt buckle of the killer was found inside the hand of the victim. See here the arrows. Here it shows the buckle of the belt in his hand. And this belt buckle helped in the identifying the killer. The strangulation should be presumed to be homicidal unless proved otherwise. Right. So this is called we did the crimes in investigation or the deaths in investigation. We are getting the physical evidences here, and we are getting the idea about the killer. Like that, this is the second case. A murderer sometimes bind the victim's hand and mouth before killing the victim. If the victim is moving or shouting or asking for the help, so the murderer sometimes tie their hands and legs and their mouth so that they cannot shout or they cannot run. So here is a 65-year-old man who found death in his bed. His hands and mouth were bound, and the cause of death was strangulation and blunt head trauma. Here you can see the injury in his head, right? So homicide by the poisoning. Sometimes the homicide has been done because of the poisoning. So what are the circumstances or what are the evidences we can find during the investigation? So there is no sign of violence to the body. There won't be a violence generally. Sometimes it is possible that if somebody is forcefully making someone to drink the toxic things or eat toxic things, so at that time it will be possible. But general, there is no sign of violence on the body. Then the affiliation appears as a natural death disease yet failed to respond to the normal treatment. If it's a case of slow poisoning, the patient's health is going down since last many days. There is no response to the normal treatments, right? It is the poisoning case will look like a natural disease or something. An illness reoccurred in cycles. For example, the victim became ill at home, then went to a medical home, then seemed to recover, then again coming to home and becoming again ill. It is comes in the cycles in the case of slow poisoning. There are common mysterious symptoms in the common group of people. If it is a case of a mass poisoning or mass tempting, then the common symptoms will be seen in many people. There is an individual who is an anxious to dispose of food, drink, or medicine with the partner. An individual prevents friends or relations from the being sent off for during the victim's illness. If victim is ill and it's case of poisoning or a slow poisoning, a particular individual will prevent everybody to meet the victim. He will say, no, he's ill. Don't meet him. Don't go them. Don't ask them anything. Let them get rest, like that. So there is an insistence or no autopsy. They will, or the family members or a particular person or somebody will insist a lot that we don't want any autopsy. This is a natural death. This is not any poisonous casing. So the unusual insistence on no autopsy can get an idea about the poisoning cases. In India, due to some religion myths or the faith or the rituals, it is common that people will deny for the, or the family members will deny for the autopsy, that we don't want to do anything. But that is up to a a level. But if it is like in extraordinary deniance or the insistence of that we don't want autopsy, then the police will get some idea about that something is wrong and the investigation should be do more on it. There is an insistence on rapid cremation. The people or the family members will do the rapid cremation. They would just want to destroy all the evidences and all the body. An individual show and family with the poisons or the possession or the literature about the poisons. Maybe possible that a family member or any near one or any people will, if you go for the history of their digital history or their internet browsing history, or if you do the investigation in their home, they may possess literature about the poisons, or they are previously almost familiar with the poisons or something like that. It is a possibility. So some of the locations and items to look for here, the clue are as follows. So where the victims was found, like vomiting materials, clothes, poison residues. Then where the poison was administered, like medicine bottles, food containers. What are the poison was disposed of, like storage area, trash containers. They will throw the things that, so you should go for to see the trash containers or the storage area or the vacuum cleaner bags, or where the poison was prepared. Tools like poison residues are there, containers may be there. Where the poisons were crushed, like stolen items. Sometimes it is possible that from some laboratories or some medical stores, this kind of poisons or the poisonous item should be stolen. Then comes the suicide. Suicide means to kill the self, right? So suicide mostly determined by the thorough findings and what the circumstances of the crime scene. From the circumstances itself, we'll get the idea about the suicide. So here is a case where the 37-year-old woman hanged herself in her house. There was a farewell letter on the floor, or a suicide note or a farewell letter. So mostly during the suicide or suicidal cases, we are getting the suicidal notes, farewell letters are there. So by which we are getting the exact idea about the suicidal cases. See here, the hand of suicide victim is still gripping the handgun, which is called as cadaveric spasm. The hand has been held by him. So it is cadaveric spasm. The cadaveric spasm and the rigor mortis will entirely a different thing. Cadaveric spasm is there that by like a suicide or a sudden death, the whatever things he has been holding or she has been holding, the instantaneous spasm will be there. She will hold whatever things she or he is holding. But the rigor mortis will start after 6 hours or 12 hours, 10 hours, like that, of the body position. So in some cultures, the religious books and the findings indication praying before suicide may be found. That sometimes some people in some religions are there, they will do the prayers before doing suicide, or they will do some rituals or religious things before the suicide. So you can find those kind of things or articles or religious books in the crime scene or on the death scene. uh, See here, they reported that in investigating medical death case believed to be suicidal origin, the evidence showing that this action was committed by the victim, the presence of suicide note at the death scene, and a history of a previous suicidal attempt, and the presence of daily axillary and pubic shaving on the external examination of the victim's body, when of the Muslim faith, may also be considered a feature of the suicide. So here, a lady has been hanged by herself, and here you can, in the circumstantial evidences, here you can see that razor or razor is there. Then the religious books are there. So and the for the social history, it has been found that she also tried like previous attempts of the suicide. So like that, from circumstantial evidences, it has been established that this was a suicidal case. Then comes the accidental deaths or the accidental deaths by the auto accidents, road accidents, or these are the auto accidents. The investigation may include accident reconstruction if liability is in dispute. An investigator take the photographs and auto accident scene like skid marks, tire marks, roadway, witness statements, whatever it is there. Then fire, the investigator photographs, diagram, examine the fire scene, and the physical evidence may be collected for the further examination. If any evidence has been found that how the fire has started off, is if there are any arson cases, that should be discriminate whether it's a fire or an arson. Then slip and fall. If a person slips and fall and the slip fall accident has been taken, so investigation usually begin with the employee or the establishment. So these are all the different type of accidental deaths. So we'll show the another one. See here, it's a case that a 17-year-old worker was dead due to electronic shock in his workplace. The scene investigation revealed electrical leakage from the defect of the plastic sheet of cable of carpet washing machine. So here, this is a boy who is a worker. He's working here and washing this car washing machine, this carpet washing. So here you can see the breakage of the wire, and because of this shock, accidentally he got died. Here is another case. A 42-year-old man was found dead due to carbon monoxide poisoning in his bathroom. He is having an LPG water heater in his bathroom, and there is a no smoke pipe in the bathroom that the smoke can go outside. And because of that, he got the carbon monoxide poisoning, and he found death in his bathroom during the bathing. See, this is a very famous case. I guess you, most of people, you are knowing about it. A 40-year-old male farmer was found precipitated in his stockyard. He was working with a helix elevator. Helix elevator was a machine it was used in the cutting of the crop. So he had a scarf tied loosely over his face and the neck, but his scarf was pulled up and wrapped around the shaft of the machine. So when it was the machine was working and it's cutting all the crops, so his scarf was pulled there and stuck there, and the scarf then slid around the victim's neck and tightened, and causing the head to separate from the body. So here you can see the body is here and head is here. It is completely got separated because of it, and it is comes under the accidental death. Then comes the natural death. So an important portion of the death investigation by forensic medicine expert involves the natural diseases. The most common being the cardiovascular disease. Natural disease process alter the way of body reacts to an rapid from injuries. The older person, the more likely that natural disease has a role in the death. So each and every death or each and every body is, it won't be a suicidal or a homicidal or accidental death. It may be a natural death, and whatever the age increasing, the chances of natural death will also can increase. But by seeing the scene or by investigating the scene, easily we can discriminate in between the natural death and the other type of deaths. See, this is the examination example. A 76-year-old woman who had been living alone was found dead in her home in sitting position and holding a glass in her hand. See, she is holding, it is called the cadaveric spasm. As soon as she hold the glass, she died because of natural death or the heart attack, and the glass was still there in his hand. And you know the Libra Mortis or the color changes on the face, hand, and the left foot. Why it is so? Because of the gravitational forces. As we talked about, wherever the gravitational force are there, so the blood will be started accumulating there to see the color changes of the face, right? Hand and legs you can see. So this is the natural death. Then at the conclusion, we can tell that the forensic medicine expert should visit the scene, death scene before autopsy if it is possible. Although the investigation and legal system differ from country to country, there is always a crime scene investigation team. Right here in India, there is no any uh, mandatory to go to the crime scene or the death scene. Whatever the investigation has been done is done by the police people only, and whenever they need any expert, then only they are calling. But mostly they are not calling. Or there in India, there is no any specific position called the crime scene investigator or the forensic medicine investigator. But in the other countries, there is a particular team which is called as a post-mortem examiner or the forensic medicine experts who always go to the crime scene during the death, and they are doing the investigation. In the forensic medicine expert does not have the opportunity to death scene him or herself. He should check the documentation, notes, sketch, photograph with the crime scene to investigate the team prepared. So maybe possible that he or she is not getting chance to visit the crime scene or the death scene personally. So they should check all the notes, sketch, and the photographs or the documentations for the further investigation. Many medical legal deaths may be resolved by the death scene investigation only. While if you do a good investigation, there is a 50 to 60% chances that you will get all the idea about the manner of the death or the cause of the death, or what is the type of the, whether it's a suicide, homicide, or whatever it is. So a forensic medicine expert should never forget that if the death scene investigation is not performed before the autopsy will be an imperfect autopsy. So before autopsy, there should be a very good and thorough crime scene investigation should be there. Otherwise, the whatever the autopsy results will not be as perfect as it should be, right? So this is all about the death scene investigation. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving me chance over here. And so if there are any questions, you can ask. If any students want this PPT, then I will upload it to the SlideShare. So from there, you can check it. So any questions? So, okay then, there's no any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your all valuable and informative session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. I have one question, ma'am.
Yeah, please. What's your name?
Venkatesh, ma'am.
Okay, Venkatesh. Tell.
Thanks for the wonderful session, ma'am. Next, is a crime sketching is a important tool in crime scene investigation, ma'am?
Yeah, see, in before time when there is no such good photographic or the 3D scanners are available at that time, the sketching is so much important. But here, when we are having a 3D scanner or 3D photography or very high definition photography, the sketching having its like there, but it's not so much like from the previous one, because previous why sketching has been done to check to maintain no, circumstances of the crime scene, like how body is how far from the wall or where is the window, like that. But here now comes the 3D scanner, so it is not that much important.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if you people have any queries or any question, you can ask me personally also through my mail, or you can check me through LinkedIn. Any other social medias I'm not using, like Facebook or Instagram, I'm not there. So if you have any questions, you can ask me through LinkedIn. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. So hope you all will be safe, and hope this pandemic will go very fast and we will have for a normal routine life. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Honorable Professor R.K. Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor of Shimla University, to conclude the conference by saying few words.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you giving me opportunity to speak in your valuable webinar.
Thank you so much,
Uh,
sir.
I'm really impressed with the forensic.india to dare to organize a webinar on investigation in different aspects of the forensic science at this hard time when the whole world is almost shut down. There is a lockdown, and there is a challenges in every sector of the society, whether it is a research institutions or educational institution or trading institutions or any kind of enterprises. So I am thankful to Nitin and Forensic.India to give us opportunity, the School of Science of AP Goel Simla University, to collaborate and to propose and make it successful such an webinar. We have seen that it was extensive presentation by the number of experts in the area, and there were the good participants, and they all were receptive, and I am going that definitely this webinar has met its objective. So I congratulate to all of you, to all the participants, to the School of Science of the AP Goel Simla University, and especially the